Yan! Yan! Ano na? Naka-move on na yung iba dyan. Or nag-Google Trends pa rin naman dyan yung iba dyan. Mga data scientist Charva. Yan, ayan tayo eh. Ayan tayo mga pare. Kamusta kayo dyan? Naku po, nag-trending yata yung ano natin kahapon na yung analysis natin dito sa election na ito. Kamusta kayo? Yan, alam na natin this guys. So today today. Relax lang kayo dyan. Good vibes pa rin tayo guys ha. Di tayo dito Di tayo drama. Walang meta 2 ngayon ha. Meta 1 lang tayo. Good vibes. So pag-usapan natin today a number of things. No? Ito, balik na naman yung notebook natin. Unang-una, pink movement. Leni. What happens next after elections? Yan. Pangalawa, let's have a little bit of a more in-depth na post-mortem analysis. Kasi mukhang yung 2019 elections, even 2016 elections, walang sapat na post-mortem analysis. Yung ibang kampo, while other camps who had the proper analysis of 2016 made big adjustments and they won big in these elections. No? So let's have some analysis of that and then a little bit moving forward. No? So I think for me, the long game is a term that I always emphasize. And I saw kanina yung mga ibang in denial dyan just the other day at saka yung mga ka-Google Trends friends natin dyan, tsaka mga questionable counter statistics dyan, yan. Medyo long game na sila. Ginagamit nilang words ko. But actually, a while ago, when I was looking through things, I think the long walk, perhaps, is even a better way of putting it. Ito yung one of the favorite books ni Obama, among others, of course, si Mandela. The Long Walk to Freedom. Ilang dekada po siya nakulong. Ilang dekada po siya bitter and frustrated dahil doon sa mga nangyari sa kanya. But eventually, he won it. He won it because meron siyang conviction. Never siya nawala ng pag-asa. And he believed, right? He believed in the righteousness of his cause. And eventually, pwede mo sabihin, Nelson Mandela was the most admired figure of the 20th century. Naku po, ang 20th century, ang daming nangyari. Daming giyera, 2 world wars, Cold War. You had giants of history like Churchill, so on and so forth. But, guys, I would say that the most admired person from that century is really Nelson Mandela. Yan ang leaders across the political spectrum, all across the world, Mandela ang tinitignan nila to get inspiration. So the Long Walk to Freedom. Basahin niyo yan. It's a very, very inspiring book. In fact, if you just read summaries of that, you can find some of the summaries of that in New York and among others, you get an idea what is the arc of struggle for democracy. And one of the things that I really admire about Mandela is yung pagka-zen niya. Zen siya eh. Noong una, lumalaban siya. I mean, he is a very strong character, di ba? Ito yung kabataan ni Mandela. You know, he was a lawyer. He comes from he was a prince from one of the tribes, big tribes, dyan sa South Africa. He had a hard time accepting that he's not gonna get the change he wants right away. But over time, sir, kalmado lang, sir. Unity. Yan. So, kalmado siya. And he focused on the righteousness of his cause and the light at the end of the tunnel. And he believed in it. Kahit yung prison niya, ang liit lang. Imagine mo, 30 years. Grabe. Tapos kung sino-sinong trashy na prisoner, yung mga trashy na nandun sa prison nagbabantay sa kanya, he kept his dignity. He kept his inner strength. He went through and eventually, he triumphed. A moral triumph for him. At yung kagandahan kay Mandela na very gusto ko sa kanya, hindi siya gumawa ng sarili ng political dynasties. He didn't let his children, his relatives, etc. go and gawa ng sariling political dynasty. That's why you don't see any Mandela in contention for top positions sa South Africa. Now, obviously, South Africa has a lot of problems. A lot of that is, remember guys, yung pinag-usapan natin na path dependency, di ba? The choices and the events that happened in the past shape the structure of opportunities available for the future. So yon, the long walk. Please guys, ito yung time yung mga medyo nadidepress na dyan yung mga iba na, naghihintay lang ng meta natin para may injection of inspiration. Please, magbasa din kayo para magigets niya saan galing yung energy ko. Yung iba dyan, saan galing yan? I mean, alam niyo guys, yung election day, alam mo yung schedule ko? 7 a.m. to 4 a.m. and then 10 a.m. ulit gising ako to my Bloomberg and then dire-diretso na. Tapos ginawa pa natin yung meta natin kahapon in between, di ba? Where do I get the energy? I get it from people like him. Once you read the biography of these people, bakit? Tao rin siya, tao rin ako. Bakit? Diba? At of course, diba, kung napanood yung movie niya about him, diba? Kay Morgan Freeman din, yan. Captain of your own soul. Guys, captain of your own soul. So yun, please, do not reduce the struggle for freedom to one or two election per se, to one success or one failure or two per se. It goes beyond that, guys. Okay, which brings you to the first level of analysis. Okay, first level of analysis. Let's do this, guys. Tignan natin yung pink movement. Sabi ko nga, guys, ang pink movement po, October lang pinanak yan. Hindi pa toddler yan. Ilang buwan yan? October to November, November to December, December to January, to February, to March, April. Guys, 6 months pa lang yan. Barely 7 months. So parang baby itong pink movement na yan. At parati kong in-explain na itong pink movement, guys, iba siya dun sa older yellow ribbon movement. Now, of course, there's an overlap. Of course, Vice President Leni belongs to the Liberal Party. I don't think she has resigned from the party or anything like that. Of course, may mga tao from that, let's just call it some clique within the leadership of the Yellow Ribbon Movement are involved in her campaign. You have an Aquino running her campaign, the same way that happened in 2016. But a lot of supporters of Pink Movement, gusto rin nila si Calyodi. Open din sila dun sa ibang candidates. Hindi self-righteous, hindi pa disente, hindi mayabang. Ito yung mga tao na tanggap nila kung may pagkakulang, may kailangan ayusin, may compassion, naintindihan po saan galing yung desperasyon ng tao, no? Yan ang mga pink, right? So the pink movement is literally and figuratively young. And when I say young, people are young by heart, meaning hindi sila invested masyado sa old narratives and cliches. They're willing to accept new dialogues, new conversations, new meta, ka-meta. And people are literally young, no? Kung punta ka sa mga rallies ni Leni, makikita mo rin maraming kabataan nandun na inspired rin. At the same time, it's also very, very young because, di ba? October lang ginawa ito eh. October lang ginawa ito. So you have to keep that in mind. Not to mention out of nowhere yung pink na yan. Like, I don't think many people knew about it. It came out of nowhere. So it took some time for people to really feel it. And nakita natin, people fully embrace the pink movement. So, my goodness, 6 months pa lang. Lots happened, you know? Ang dami mga grand rallies, 400,000, 500,000, 700,000. Malapit na siguro sa million strong rallies ang ginawa in just 6 months. Because there's something with the color pink. There's something with the hope for a better Philippines that galvanized a lot of Filipinos, right? Now, guys, let me be very clear. This is not prejudicial dun sa mga ibang partido. Let me be very clear about this. Kahit sinong binoto mo, kahit sinong sinusuporta mo, naniwala ko, deep inside, lahat tayo in one way or another, we want a better Philippines. Ang ano lang naman dyan, ang hidwaan, or let's just call it disagreement, wag naman hidwaan, ay dun sa issue ng methods. Anong methods ang pwedeng gamitin at anong klaseng leadership ang kailangan po natin, no? Or pamamalakad na kailangan natin dito sa ating lipunan. But I think deep inside, all of us want something. We want to be proud when we go abroad and say we're Filipinos. We want to be proud when people talk about our presidents, our leaders, etc. Diba? O mamaya natin pag-usapan yung mga speech ni Tatay. Ayan, looking forward na to the first sauna, the next president of the Republic of the Philippines. At hindi siya tatay. Okay, iba na. Iba na magiging next sauna natin. Okay, guys? That's it, pansit. So, yun lang, guys. Perspective. You know, in life, perspective is everything. At ako, yung issue ng perspective na yan, you know, all of us go through heartbreaks, etc. throughout that time. You know, a few years ago, medyo may, you know, we had the situation. There was heartbreak. My dad was in ICU. I mean, grabe yung situation na yan. Sobrang depressed ako noon. Yun yung time na nag-shave ako. I was very depressed back then. But for a short while. So, syempre, while praying na, you know, my dad will get better, etc. and all, yun, nagbasa ako ng Stoicism, yung kay Marcus Aurelius. No? May iba pa akong binasa, of course, you know. Seneca, so on and so forth. We can go through the whole gambit. But, you know, one of the things that I learned there is, you know, sometimes in life, right, perspective is everything. May quote na sobrang ganda si Marcus Aurelius na sabi niya, every morning when you wake up, you know, just look into the sky and be grateful for the chance to once again to eat, to pray, to love, to think, to breathe, To enjoy life. You know, like, take it one day at a time. When things are difficult, take it one day at a time. Huwag magpanic, huwag magdrama, relax lang. Sir, kalmado lang, sir. Kalmado lang. Yan, kalmado lang tayo, guys. Unity, alright? Okay, so yun lang, guys. Chill lang tayo dyan. All of us, may trial sa buhay, sa politika. Given na yan, given na yan. The person who's going to be our next president, most likely, based on the numbers, is someone who lost an election in 2016. Of course, never nila tinanggap and all. That was a very difficult, situation for that person, right? So, there's really a beautiful quote. I don't know if it's from Edison or Lincoln or one of those usual suspects. No, it's like, success is going from one failure to the other without losing enthusiasm. That's a very important thing. Failures will happen. Lahat naman may failures eh. Yung iba lang magaling gumawa ng kulto at mythology na parati sila nanalo. But everyone went. I mean, look at the greatest of all time in boxing, Muhammad Ali. He lost many times, and yet he's considered the greatest of all time. So, never forget the long walk, guys. The long game, the long walk. There were people who triumphed morally and even politically because they never lost faith. Now, 6 months pa lang yung movement mo, which brings me to the second thing. This movement is 15 million strong. Now, alam ko yung mga iba dyan, kina-question yung resulta, sinasabi ng mga irregularities and all of that. Okay, whatever. Okay, wala namang perfecto elections. Yung mga VCMs na hindi gumana, tignan mo 2019 elections. I think 3 times more na nagkaroon ng error. Now, obviously, we have to get to the bottom of any problems, any irregularities. At para sa akin, ang mas malaking problema pa natin, hindi VCM, yung vote buying, ang mas malaking problema sa atin. It's what happened before the day of election. It's what happens before the votes are even counted. Everyone is focused about the vote count. I'm more concerned about what happens before that. All this vote buying, vote intimidation, vote disenfranchisement of voters, making it hard for opposition or certain camps to campaign in certain places. Lahat yan, for me, questionable yan. No? So, by using those yardsticks, which I think is more appropriate, never naman tayo nagkaroon ng talagang fully mature, steady elections. So, it's a work in progress. But, at least, based on the numbers we're seeing right now, mukhang 15 million strong yung support kay Leni. Now, so what does it mean? It means a number of things. Unang-una, Leni actually has 50% more votes, more than 50% more votes, dun sa huling, more or less, opposition leader, right? Marojas. Marojas got under 10 million votes. Leni Robredo got 15 million votes. That's almost a 50% increase. Now, obviously, you can say the number of eligible voters also increased and all of that and not. Which brings me to the second issue. For the past 6 years, si Leni Robredo po ay target ng all sorts of nastiest disinformation. Binabastos siya ng kung sinong trashy bloggers. Like, sino ka ba? Diba? Kung ano-anong sinasabi sa kanya, kung ano-anong invento sa kanya. And we will go to this at the next level. The reality is that did hurt her political position. That was reflected dun sa relatively low net trust rating niya. That's true. But even with that, even despite of all of that, 6 years of intimidation, of marginalization, walang budget, limitadong kayang gawa kasi kaya niyang gawin kasi wala na siya sa kabinete. Despite all of that, she actually has more vote in 2020 as a presidential candidate than in 2016 as a vice presidential candidate. And back then, she was the candidate of the administration. She had all the resources. She had all the benefits of running on an administration ticket. Diba? This time is very different. She's running as the opposition not only to the outgoing president, but also to the uni team. Kaya nga parati ko sinasabi, Leni Robredo always had it hard in these elections precisely because she's not only against Ferdinand Marcos Jr., she's against Ferdinand Marcos Jr. plus Sara Duterte. Yung kombinasyon po ng dalawang kampo na yan are very, very formidable. Solid North, solid South, but even that misses the point. Because si Marcos, his support is not only in the northern regions, but sa NCR, napakalakas ng support sa kanya. Nakita natin yan sa 2016. Diba? And then kay Sara Duterte, hindi lang naman Mindanao, the Visayan vote, all the way extending from Mindanao, Northern Mindanao, Visayan regions, Cebu, richest province in terms of votes, all the way to Manila, NCR region. Marami naman tayong mga kapatid ng Bisaya dito. This is the Sara Duterte's solid Bisaya Mindanao vote, no? So nung nagsama yung dalawa na yan, mahirap talaga for Leni yun. And the fact that Leni is associated with Liberal Party and Liberal Democracy, as I said, mahirap din yun because majority of Filipinos, 50 to 60% of Filipinos, are ambivalent, if not skeptical, of liberal democratic values. Ang gusto po nila ay husay, ay decisiveness. Yan pong hanap ng mga ng taong bayan po. Desperado po ang ating mga kababayan para sa tunay na pagbabago at magandang pagbabago. Yun ang parating kong sinasabi. Hindi lang pagbabago, pero magandang pagbabago. Kasi pwede naman magbago, pero mas malala. Tapos naman si Duterte, President Duterte. So, hindi ko nabalikan yung issue na yan. You already know anong stance ko dyan. Alright? Not stance, but assessment actually, to be very clear about it. Okay. Mamaya ko nabasahin yung mga speech ni Tatay. So, Leni always had a structural disadvantage in any race. Medyo pagod ako. Nakikita nyo, umaga, gusto ko na magpahinga kahapon. Excited na, ito na, matutulog na ako, rest na ako. Biglang tawag. Gusto tayong kausapin ni Mike Enriquez, kapuso natin. Of course, you can't say no. Love na love ko yun si Mike Enriquez. I always enjoy yung mga interviews namin. Okay? So, love na love ko yan. So, nagising na naman tayo ng maaga. Ayan, tuloy. Okay, so medyo magkape tayo just to keep the energy level. Guys, Meta 1 tayo. Yung Meta 2 natin, doon tayo medyo magdrama ng medyo heart to heart, medyo mi corazon, mga ganun. Pero ito, Meta 1 to. So, chill lang tayo, guys. Relax. Sir, kalmado lang. Si Kalmado nga, interview right and left Ano kami Nagko-compete kami ngayon. Book-check ko YouTube. Uy, interview na naman si Kalmado Okay Okay. Maganda to. Okay, kalmado lang tayo, guys. Okay. Now let's go to the meat of the discussion. What happened in these elections? Ito ulitin ko. Everything I say now is hindi ito new script. This is all the logical progression ng mga sinasabi ko throughout the months. Siyempre, ayoko lumabas na nega, di ba, dati? Kontrolin ko sarili ko para sa Monday, magkaalaman na sa Monday. Sige, pakinggan nyo ako sa Tuesday. Here we are. Nagkaalaman na. Okay. I've lost count of how many BBC interviews alone. BBC pa lang, nakailang interviews na ako about. Kasi lahat sila, how could the Marcos win? Parang ganun. Okay. Una. Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has been working on the return to Malacanang not since October, not since November when the unit team was essentially cemented thanks to Tita Arroyo, to Martin Romualdez and the whole jazz. Not since 2016 when he ran for vice presidency, but since 1991. Since nakabalik, the time that he took a plane, he flew back to Manila from Hawaii. Diba? Came and then said, wala palang problema. Okay, relax pala dito. From that moment, they have been working their way back. To the Malacanang. In fact, it's a mischaracterization na sabihin mo, bumabalik ang mga Marcoses sa power. No! They never left. They barely left power, only for a few years when they were in exile. They were always governors, senators, congressmen, name it, right? They already had all of those positions in power. Nagdanak lang po sila sa Malacanang all those years. And finally, now, si Tatay, susi mo. Bongbong, ito susi mo. Ayan na. This is what essentially happened here, okay? So since 1991 po, nandun na po sila nagnanak. You don't believe me? Look at 1992 elections. Sino pong kalaban ni Fidel Ramos? Yes, alam natin yung pinaka-close race dyan is, God bless her soul, Ma Miriam Santiago. Pero sino yung number 3 and 4 and all? Diba? Of course, may Mitra and all. Pero andun, Imelda Marcos. Di ba pinag-usapan natin yan, 1991 elections? Let's break down the exact numbers, Oo. 1992 elections. Let's break down the exact numbers. So, wala pang 1 year na nakabalik ang Marcoses. Tumakbo na sila. At in this case, Imelda ang tumakbo, di ba? So Imelda got 10.32% of the votes, 2,338,294. And Danding Coangco, number 3, running under NPC, nanalo pa siya ng 18.17% of the votes, 4,160,000. So, yung nanalo po, si Fidel Ramos, 5,342,521, only 23.58%. So, kung sinama mo yung 18.71% ni Danding Coangco at 10.32% ni Imelda Marcos, talong-talo si Ramos doon. Walang laban. Neither Ramos nor Miriam Santiago. So, wala pang 1 year na nakabalik ang Marcoses. They were already in a position to win Malacanang. That's how fragile the EDSA regime was from the very onset. Not only the 7-8 coup d'etats against Corazon Aquino. Isa pa dyan, I think sila Honasan ang involved doon. May pumasok pa nga ng shrapnel doon sa leeg ni dating presidenteng Benigno Aquino. No? They couldn't remove that because it could be life-threatening. Hindi lang noon. Pagkatapos ni Cory Aquino, by 1992, the transition process was so tricky that Imelda Marcos and Danding, kung nagsama sila ng boto nila, sila ulit ang nasa puwersa. Now, I understand each of them thought they could pull it off on their own. Si Danding, andun naman siya, may pera, walang problema. Si Imelda kakabalik, ayaw tanggapin. Bakit si Danding? Bakit si Danding, ano lang naman yan? Ako na lang tatakbo, ayan tuloy. Pero if nagsama sila ng boto, boom! Panalo sila nun pa lang. So this project of return has been in the works for more than 30 years, guys. 30 years. 30 years. 30 years. 30 years. 30 years. Okay. Ayun na. Pasok! Andrew E. Inday Sara. Bagong, ano yung bagong Pilipinas. Ayan na. Bagong mukha. Yeah. Andrew E. Pasok. I'm sure alam ni Andrew E. din yan. Okay. So, pagsama si Danding Coangco and Imelda Marcos, they would have received close to 28.5% of the votes, 5% more than Fidel Ramos in 1992 elections. That is how vulnerable the EDSA regime was from the very onset. Now, 1998, tumakbo si Joseph Estrada. And guess what? Joseph Estrada was the running mate of Danding Coangco in 1992. So by 1998, and Loyalists already won. Right? Not directly, but indirectly. So a proxy and ally was already back in Malacanang. Not directly the Malacanang, but their proxies. So then again, you can see the vulnerability of the situation of the Philippine democracy since day one. All the coups and gulo. And since the first elections after Corazon Aquino, who was a revolutionary president, right? Okay. Now, so in this more than 30 years, they had all sorts of experimentation with what kind of narratives they could push, what kind of things they could say. And then, of course, alam natin, bandang 2010s onwards, something interesting happened. On YouTube, among others, and I'm grateful to my very good friend, my kindred spirit, Lelo Claudio, historian UC Berkeley, for also pointing that out in a podcast we had on Project Pilipinas. Pakicheck po yan, ha? Yung Yellow Monkey, parang channel or something like that, doon sa YouTube. And this Yellow Monkey channel, exactly, anong trabaho niya? To spread alternative, revisionist version of history. Right? Hoy, Levi, umayos ka, ha? Huwag kang magyabang dito. Umalis ka dito mamaya. Balikan kita. Obviously, troll ka. So, hindi kita pansinin. Okay. Pinansin na eh. Okay. So, more than 10 years ago po, meron na po itong project ng restoration project on the in the social media space. Sa level po ng War for the Hearts and Minds, organized po ang mga supporters ng Marcoses. This idea that it was Golden Age, Talano, Yamashita, at lahat ng mga nangyaring masama sa ating bansa ay dahil sa mga dilawan. Right? So that disinformation network was already there long time ago. Even when another Aquino was president, parang walang nangyari, walang ginawa. Right? I don't know what that is. Is it complacency? Is it... You can fill in the blank, right? For some reason, nothing was done about this, and these things just kept on proliferating. Sabi nga nung aking kasama si Mark Gamboa, aking ka-vlogger, right? Alam mo yung nagsabi, sir, dapat konyo vlogger ang ano mo. Walang hiya. Konyo vlogger. Wala na. Wala na yung ano natin, konyo vlogger. Ayan, yung mga ka-vlogger ko na hindi konyo. Walang hiya. Probinsyano ako, guys. Kaya lang bagay. Paano naman maging konyo? Konyong probinsyano? Walang hiya. UP ako, ha. Hindi ako ano, ha. Hindi ako galing dun sa mga school na parang, parati sila na parang. Hindi kami gano'n, ha. Taga-UP lang kami, mabalawura kami. Diliman pa, napaka-balawura yung mga nandyan. Okay. Love na love ko yung mga yan, pero... Okay. Balikan natin. So, this historical revisionist networks were there more than 10 years ago. So, yung mga nagsasabi na, si Digong, this and that, 2016 elections, like, nasaan ka nung 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014? Yung YouTube po, wala pong influencer na yellow ribbon liberal na nandun. Halos wala. Punta ka sa YouTube. Sino malakas na liberal thinker dyan sa YouTube? Wala. As in, wala. Tignan mo yung mga Maharlika, mga ganun. Mamaya na yung mga sila Banat Bay, ganun. Hindi ko alam paano maklasify yung mga ganun eh. Anyway, my goodness, Jan something, Jan, yung mga ganun. Like, my goodness, million ang followers na mga yan sa YouTube, di ba? Ang lakas nila sa YouTube, pare. Ang lakas nila sa YouTube. Nothing was done to either counter them through regulation of disinformation or to create a balance by influencers of the other side going there. So essentially, certain platforms were completely left. The battlefield was just left to the enemy as far as the liberals vis-a-vis the loyalistas are concerned. And kaya sinasabi ko, the chickens are coming home to roost. Yung isa pang bagay sa ating bansa, alam natin malaki pong corruption sa bansa natin. Right? And we're not gonna pinpoint one family to the other. Ang laki po ng corruption. Systemic po ang problema ng corruption. Ayan, Sangkay, Jan. Yan, okay. Diba? Ilan ang followers ngayon sa YouTube? Kailan ba nagsimula yan? Oh, anong pangtapat ng mga ano doon? Mga liberal dyan kay Sangkay, Jan. Wala. Awan. I mean, the only one I can think about is kaibigan natin si Xiao Chua. Pero, hindi, mismatch yan. Kasi sila Xiao po, kami po, nagtuturo po kami. Marami kami mga... Nagtatrabaho po kami, mas legit kami mga trabaho. Hindi kami pwede content ng 4-5 times a day. Wala talaga kaming laban. Hindi naman kami influencers, guys eh. I mean, even come on, let's be serious. I'm not really a vlogger. I'm just like, doing what I'm doing here, right? Wala kaming time to upload 4-5 times a day, etc. Ganun, every day for 6, 7, 8 years. Mismatch talaga yun. Mismatch talaga yun. At ang laki ng kita ng mga yun sa YouTube, ha? Hindi naman na kailangan maging bayaran kung gano'n kung ang dami mong followers, yan, kita mo dyan, at least $8,000 to $10,000 kung ganyan yung following mo. Hindi mo na kailangan ng yung engagement pa lang, laki ng kita mo doon eh. So, the field was left to the enemy completely. Kaya napapaisip ako, parang, saan akala nyo? Na andun kayo sa mga social na newspaper, social na media, tapos na yan. No, ordinary Filipinos were increasingly going to non-scripted, real talk, kunyari, mga ganun, sa YouTube and all. Kasi mas interesting yun minsan. I mean, I work in mainstream media. I love it. Iba pa rin, ma-interview ka ng Tita Amanpour, Farid Zakaria, yung mga, okay, yeah, man, level, mga 3 BBC interview sa isang araw or 2, pwede ko na pamigay yung iba sa, baka ikaw kailangan mo ng BBC interview, bigyan ka ng isa, yeah. Mga ganon, di ba? Hindi na ako mga star, yeah. Mag-behave na ako, ito, balikan natin to guys, ito. Marami sa ating kababayan, gusto nila yung relatable, yung hindi mo kang naka-makeup na napakaganda niya, napakahusay ng hair. Gusto nila yung medyo baluktot ng Tagalog, katulad natin. Yung isa sabi na, Sir, parang lasing pag nagtatagalog. Walang iya. Pero gustong-gusto ko yan. Parang, kami dyan, walang iya. Yung palang gusto niyo, parang lasing na baluktot na Tagalog. Walang iya. Ayan tayo. Pero gets ko mas gusto ng tao, lalong-lalo na ngayon. This is the information age revolution, guys. Information revolution yan. Bakit ka maghihintay hanggang 6 p.m. or 9 p.m. doon sa prime time ng isang TV? Pwede mo makuha, boom, right off the bat, spontaneous response from a vlogger, influencer, public intellectual. Ngayon pa lang. Tapos makikita mo yung mga pores niya, pimples niya, yung mga... May pimples pa ako? Oh. Wala. Okay. Yung mga ano niya, guess mo, yung mga mukhang lamano, yung like, the whole thing, the whole jazz, right? Ako, come on. My preparation for our meta is 5 minutes max. That's it. Wala kang konting kape, tubig, opo, boom. That's it. Pansit, right? Kahit mo akong ewan, go pa rin ako. And I know people like it. Now, you want a more respectable version of me, you can Google me on CNN, on BBC, whatever. But I know people like it. Now, so I think what happened here was complacency. A lot of liberals, because they had cushy, pushy position dun sa mga columnists of this, analysts of that. Obviously, I'm one of those people because I'm there, but vlogger din ako ngayon. Pinag-aralan ko talaga to ng mga husay. Ng mabuti, sorry, hindi mahusay, parang I'm praising myself. Ng mabuti po, pinag-aralan natin. So I think they became complacent. Pagtanungin mo sila, ba't wala kang YouTube channel? Bakit? Wala akong time eh, mga ganun. Bakit wala kang... I can't, it's kind of trashy eh. Parang ganun. It's not my level. Wala nang mangyari sa atin, dude, pare tol. Chong bro. Dude, pare tol. Chong bro. Wala, kung hindi ka mag-engage ng audience, anong laban mo? Wala kang pang ano. You know, you have to make it relatable to the people. You have to make people feel those historical junctures. Yan pong ginagawa ng vloggers. Kahit nga mga fake na ginagamit nila mga data, kung ano-anong pinagsasabi nila, relatable sila kasi, oh my goodness, yung isang vlogger nakita ko parang, naman gusto ko magsimula mag-vlogger, sabi ko, paano yan? Production, gano'n, wala akong pera dyan, awan tidatong. Tapos sabi ng isa, hindi kaya, panoorin mo kaya mga vlogger ng ano dyan. Tingnan mo yung tsura nila, tingnan mo parang tapos nanood ako ng vlog nila. Hindi to si Banat Bay, ha? Si Banat Bay may studio pa, in fairness. Meron pa siyang studio. Hindi, yung isa nakita ko, nag-aaway sila ni Banat Bay. Tapos, ano to? Walang script, nothing talagang, it's just jamming, man. Nung nakita ko, like, wow, pwede pala. Okay, kaya nagpapasalamat po ako sa mga kaibigan natin dyan. Kahit kung anong lamanong pinagsasabi niyo dyan. Nag-gets ko actually okay sa mga tao din. Yung honest ka lang, yung unscript, walang script, go lang. Yung lighting, ano to? Ginawa lang yata sa underground basement to. Pero, in fairness, daming engagement. Kasi mga tao nakaka-relate. Kasi ganun din. Gets mo, diba? Kasi kung masyadong pogy, pushy, Konya-ish, gano'n. Yung nasa TV or, hindi ka makarelate eh. I mean natin guys, hindi naman talaga tayo nag-uusap ng ganyan sa totoong buhay. Sa totoong buhay, ganyan tayo mag-usap. Yung mga kilala sa akin, mga alam nila na alaskador ako. Pag sinabi mo si Richard, kilala nila, ay si Richard, ano yun? Ano yun? Bully yan. Ayan, nagta-trash talk lang kami. Pero pag nasa TV ka, you know, Krishna, this is how we're going to analyze the factors that came together. The convergence of many factors explains this as the option of years of... People don't talk like that in normal days. Come on, let's be honest, right? Kaya mas relatable ito. Now, obviously, if you look at our judicial system, alam natin systemic ang corruption, but how many high-level officials have really been held accountable for corruption throughout the years? North of zero? High level, hindi yung mga high level, like senator, president. I mean, okay, Estrada, but wala naano rin siya. He convicted plunderer, but he was forgiven for political reasons, obviously. He was pardoned. Not forgiven, sorry, pardoned. And he ran and became a mayor. And number 2 si Erap noong 2010 elections. Pwede pa siya bumalik. So, what are you talking about? Where is that? Saan po yung pananagutan? Kaya nagiging cynical yung tao eh. Democracy tayo, democracy. Alam ng tao, napakadaming corruption. So this helped the Marcoses because it's easy to say, ang dami yung, sorry, tanggal talaga itong natin. Wala na akong time, ayusin ko pa to, abusin tayo ng Tapos may scotch tape pa ako dito. Yan. Yan ang talagang unscripted. Ay, nasan yung isa ko may scotch tape pa dito. Walang ya. Ayan. Mahal eh. Naging ina. Ina nga. Oo. Ano ko kayat nga. May salain nga kasta. Awanin. May 1,000. Not worth it. Kung sana meron meron CDR King. Alam mo, yung friend kong isa walang iya kay Darian. Ganda-ganda na laptop mo. Dati yan, yung medyo budget pa. Pero yung controller mo lahat, CDR King, tapos ang laki pa nakalagay CDR King. Ganyan talaga pa mga Ilocano, right? Okay. Joke lang. Nyamit. Okay. Move on tayo. The other thing is this. Okay. There are all of this issues with ill-gotten wealth and all of that. Okay? Now, na-establish ng PCGG yan, na-establish lahat. Okay, alam natin yan. But you see, what many people also see is this. But wala naman ang kulong. Wala naman So, baka wala nangyari. And they will say, okay, maybe may nangyaring corruption 40, 50 years ago. Paano yung mga corruption nangyari in the last 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? Ano nangyari? So, you make a lot of people cynical about a lot of these ill-gotten wealth issues because they're looking at a lot of other people, not as high profile, also getting ill-gotten wealth or supposedly or alleged, and nothing's happening. Kaya pa nakawala ng tiwalang tao sa sistema, sa judicial system. Kaya kahit anong sasabihin mo dun sa ill-gotten wealth ng mga Marcoses, etc., sasabihin ng tao dyan, ano lang yan, chismis lang yan, ano lang yan, tolits lang yan. Because nga, wala tayong rule of law talaga, right? And then the other thing, guys, kalmado lang tayo. Aminin nyo, nung nag-aaral ka ng high school, naalala nyo ba? Lalong-lalo na yung mga ka-Gen Z ko, yung mga batang-bata pa, mga ka-fresh. Ano po yung tinuro sa inyo ukol sa martial law? Ilan pages po dun sa kasaysayan, yung mga basic curriculum nyo? Ano po yung tinuro sa inyo? Very, 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 very skeptical ako na thorough yung coverage or assessment ng legacy talaga, ng final legacy ng Marcos era, dictatorship era, doon sa basic education natin. Right? Aminin natin yan, may pakakulang talaga yung sistema ng edukasyon natin on so many levels, including coming to terms with our past. Sino nagsabi dyan na Bluetooth? Mahal po yung Bluetooth, nagtanong ako. Sige, next time guys, padalan niyo ako ng Star, Gcash, Unity Star, para may pangbili tayo ng Bluetooth version para medyo social, ng ganun tayo. Hello, para akong bodyguard, ganun, yan. In the future, nagtanong ako sa airport din, yung nagta-travel ako the other month. Naghanap ako, ganda niyan, tax-free. OFW mode ako, ganun, pagpunta. Ako, mahal pa rin, kahit tax-free. Wala na. Okay. So, isa pa yung issue ko yan. Yung education system natin, never did any justice. And again, you're gonna blame President Duterte for that? Yan ang problema ko Hindi credible yung argument. Nasisisi mo si Duterte dun sa mga ibang issue. Dahil that basic education, dapat inayos niyan noon pa lang. And then, let's put it this way. Ang karamihan ng Pilipino po ay hindi... Ito na. Yan na. Pagod na ako. Wait lang This is my sinusitis. Nag-react ako. Ito pa guys. Sabihin natin to Nawala tuloy yung ko. Saan tayo? Aha. Ito Let me give you guys numbers. I know this by heart. Sinulat ko rin yan dito sa libro ko kay Pangulong Duterte. Rise of Pangulong Duterte. President Duterte has a copy. So, just saying, I'm fair. Baka hindi niya binasa. So, di ba I was explaining to you bakit ang baba ng level ng trust ng mga karamihan ng Pilipino sa demokrasya, di ba? So, 60% ng mga Pilipino sa isang survey in 2014 said they want a strong leader who does not have to bother with elections, right? So, ito yung Pilipinas. You see? 60%. I know, naka-mirror view, sorry. But you can see, ang laki ng numbers ng Filipino open to authoritarian leader. 2014 pa lang tong data na to, guys. I cited from Joshua and Monk in Journal of Democracy, 2017, Democratic Deconsolidation. Okay? Now, bakit kamo? Dahil po, never tayo nagkaroon ng tunay na demokrasya. Paano po tayo magkaroon ng tunay na demokrasya kung yung ating kongreso po, 70% dyan ay political dynasties? Pag sinama mo pa yung mga anak sa labas, the secret and not so secret, naku po, baka umakyat pa yan sa 80%. At tignan mo naman guys, tignan mo naman yung Senado natin. Ba't yung Senado natin nag-mirror na doon sa lower house natin? So, magkapatid, dalawa pa yata magkapatid ngayon, papasok sa naku po. Tapos, may mag-ina na rin. I mean, so if you ask an average Filipino, they're gonna tell you, median voter, let's use that term. It's more politically correct and technically correct. If you ask a median voter, sabihin nila, anong klaseng demokrasya yan? Kung isa kang simpleng tao, kahit napakahusay mo, sige nag-aaral ka na mabuti, marami ka alam, kung hindi ka galing sa mga political dynasties, lalong-lalo na doon sa mga ibang probinsya, good luck sa'yo na tumakbo. Good luck sa'yo na walang mangyari sa'yo kung tumakbo ka. If you even dare to challenge yung mga big dynasties na yan. Ang laking problema po yan. Ang laking problema po yan. Malaking problema po yan. Tapos, buti sana yun lang yung problema eh. But even that is not okay. Let me give you a number. In 2011, the World Bank made a report. Base sa report na yan, 40 lang 40 sa mga pinakamayaman ng pamilyang Pilipino, you know na, friends, kamusta kayo dyan, friends natin, sila po ay kinain po nila yung 76% ng newly created growth. So kung may 6% growth rate tayo, 4.8% nun halos, no? Ay pumunta sa mga 40 families lang. I mean, ganyan ka malala yung problema ng oligarkiya sa ating bansa. So kung tanongin mo yung ordinaryong Pilipino, we never had democracy. We had oligarchy, sometimes more liberal, sometimes more authoritarian. Sometimes elite democracy, which is really liberal oligarchy, sometimes elite autocracy, right? 30 garks. Yan, okay. So that is why majority of Filipinos are not invested. So then again, using the argument of let's fight for democracy and freedom. And then yung nakita ng tao, okay, nung nandun kayo sa power, kamusta yung demokrasya natin? It doesn't click eh. It doesn't click. Hindi na-inspire ng tao eh. Hindi na-inspire ng tao. And let's be honest, marami sa tao. So, which brings me back to the issue of pink movement. I'll go back to this shortly because I don't think the pink movement is about restoring half-hearted, half-baked, not so transformational, gradualist, reformist liberalism. No, I think it's far more than that, right? Kaya nga sabi ko, these elections is not about... Sige, I'll say it na. Okay, ito ito. I'm gonna say it, I'll be open. So we have some friends of ours, some very prominent liberal journalists. They keep on using yung ginamit ni Milan Kundera, it's a struggle between remembering and forgetting, whatever. Milan Kundera, kung kilala niyo yung taong yan, yung writer na yan, yung Unbearable Lightness of Being, among others, Identity, marami siyang book, no? Ang reference point niya is Soviet-occupied Czechoslovakia when Soviet Union was imposing literally what Czechoslovakia should do after the Prague Spring. Now, I don't have time to go into Eastern European politics, etc. Iba po yung sitwasyon sa Pilipinas. Hindi tayo na-occupy ng ibang bansa na pinipilit tayo na basahin yung kanilang libro or whatever, or version of history, right? Hindi naman Putin tatay style history. This is a very different context. Now, yes, disinformation is a problem. Yes, a certain degree of untetheredness from history is a problem. Pero ang problema po kasi natin dito is sa sobrang desperado ang taong bayan para matapos na itong dysfunctional democracy na meron tayo, kunyaring democracy na meron tayo, a lot of people are willing to fall for anything that is completely outside the box. President Duterte was completely outside the box in 2016, and this time, how can you get even more outside the box than electing not only a Duterte as a vice president, but a Marcos Jr. as your president? Now, pag pumunta kayo doon sa meeting de avance ng Uniteam, no, nung last Saturday, pumunta ako, naabutan ko yung time na fireworks na sila, way before that pa nga. Yung ibang tao, teary-eyed. Yung ibang tao, teary-eyed and emotional. Of course, yung mga nostalgic kanta and all of that. But the fundamental sense I got from the crowd was this. Everyone there was so desperate for change because they couldn't wait another 10, 15, 20, 30 years para baka yung conditional cash transfer may maabutan sa kanila, or baka maswertan sila, pwede sila mag-OFW makapag tapos ng kanilang yung mga patapusin, basta the whole, they are tired of waiting. They're tired. They're just tired. They're desperate for change. So yung mga rhetoric na we need gradual reform, blah blah blah, tweaking ganon, hindi na bumibenta yan sa karamihan ng Pilipino. People want fundamental transformation. For better or for worse. And you can argue sometimes it happens for the worst. You see, when you're so desperate to believe in something, you'll fall for anything. There's so much desperation sa ating mga kababayan dahil hindi na nila nakuha their fair share of prosperity and freedom over the past 3 decades. Na-hijack po yung ating democracy. Na-hijack po yung ating demokrasya. Na-hijack po yung economic growth natin. Sobrang concentrated po yung levels of economic growth and levels of political power dito sa ating bansa. This makes a mockery out of our democratic aspirations, if not pretensions. Alright? Kaya nga po, hindi bumibenta yung rhetoric ng demokrasya, anti-Marcos and all of that, because people saw what happened afterwards. They're not very impressed by it. Now, let me tell you one thing. Not long ago, I met a Brazilian friend who is kind of close to supposedly former President Lula, na medyo left progressive. And President Lula most likely has a chance to win and come back to power this year against Bolsonaro. Pero sabi niya, yung isang kulang kay Lula, sana meron siyang mea culpa. Sana nag-sorry din sila. Yes, maraming gain na nangyari sa ilalim nila, yung PT party nila Lula sa Brazil, maraming nag-benefit. Pero marami rin hindi nag-benefit. Maraming corruption nangyari, maraming mali ang nangyari. All sometimes it takes to win more people to your side and get rid of distrust is to say, I'm sorry, we did our best, pero yes, may mga pagkukulang kami. We learned our lesson, we're willing to improve, and if you vote us back to power, we'll do way better than before. The question I have is this, may mea culpa ba yung mga yon? Did they ever say sorry dun sa mga shortcomings nila? I'm waiting. Hindi, it's always, kasalanan ni Duterte yan, kasalanan ni Marcos yan, kasalanan ni Arroyo yan. Yes, of course, maraming factors na contribute. But you have your own share of responsibility. You have to take responsibility. And don't claim na your times were golden era also. They were not. Lahat may problema, may pagkukulang. Not the same level, I'm not doing false equivalence here. But may konting mea culpa, humility always helps. Right? And then, dito sa election ngayon, so in 2016, if you look at the numbers, so we're still doing a post-mortem analysis. I'm not sure some people are doing proper post-mortem, so let me do it, right? Libre lang naman eh. Libre naman manood sa akin eh. Although, you're free to send Unity stars. Ano ulit yan? Let me take out again the numbers, no? So this is where you see talaga the Marcos campaign does readjustments. They improve on their strategy. Politika yan, guys. You have to learn how to do strategy. Otherwise, you have no business in this. Mag-ano ka na lang. So in 2016, if you look at the numbers, Marcos didn't do as well among the youth, no? Masaan ang pumunta tong data na to? Okay. Naghahang na. Wala. Naghahang na. Okay. I think puno na yung ano ko. Okay. So if you look at it, actually in 2016, yung performance ni Bongbong Marcos among the youth was weaker than other demographics. He did way better among 55 and above. Yung mga actually lived during the time of martial law, a lot of them actually joined the EDSA revolution. But now they suddenly develop nostalgia. And what is nostalgia? When you suddenly begin to romanticize your past, parang yung ex mo, biglang ni-romanticize mo kahit basagulero, manloloko, babaero, dahil biglang bored ka dito sa jowa mo ngayon. So that's what you call nostalgia. It's not based on facts. It's based on frustration with the presence And thus, your mind having this cognitive bias of romanticizing a past. So that's nostalgia. That nostalgic power is very beautiful. Very powerful. But you see, nonetheless, the Marcos camp adjusted their strategy. So if you look at their election this time, sobrang focus sila dun sa getting the youth and Gen Z vote. Makikita mo talaga na sobrang lakas yung performance nila sa Gen Zs. I have yet to see the exit polls, but I won't be surprised that the best performance of Bongbong Marcos was actually among the younger voters, which is very, very different from 2016 elections. So it shows you they made strategic adjustments, and it shows you that it really worked big time. As I said, if you look at the messaging strategy of Bongbong Marcos, he's having the cake and eating it too. So ito pinakita ko na yun sa inyo, di ba? Yung blue po ay 18 to 24, 18 to 34, sorry, mga kabataan. Kasama ako dyan, di ba? Ito yung mga bumoto noong 2016, no? Wala pang exit poll to, Kung makikita mo yung blue ang pinakamaliit among other demographics. Yung gray po, mga boomers, etc. Yan ang pinakamalaking sumusuporta kay Bongbong noong 2016 elections. So millennials did not rally behind Bongbong Marcos. So what did his campaign do? Like any mature professional campaign, they readjusted their strategy. They brought in new elements, they brought in new tactics, they brought in TikTok strategy. At kung titignan mo sa TikTok, it's very interesting. Sa isang banda, the Marcos name projects strongman leadership, right? A kind of a decisive leader, right? Who single-handedly can solve complex problems of the society through sheer political will. On the other hand, if titignan mo si Bongbong Marcos mismo, napaka-avuncular, napaka-soft-spoken, never engages in direct fights. Well, you can always outsource that to your minions, right? So he doesn't do that himself personally. And naka-bomber jacket, V-cut shirt, BTS-style hair. Tingnan mo yung interview niya with Tito Boy. Hindi Tito Boy Soto, Tito Boy Abunda. Tingnan mo yung interview niya. Look at looks ni Bongbong Marcos. Very Gen Z, youth-friendly. The whole thing is so well crafted. It's advertising information warfare craftsmanship. Now, ewan ko na doon sa kabila, yung mga ayan tayo eh. Ayan tayo eh. Ayan tayo eh. Ayan tayo, guys. Ito po yung level ng Kamehame. But, hindi mo alam kung matatawa ka. Hindi mo alam, ano? Kapay na lang ako. Walang ya. Okay, mga kameta. Ito mga kameta. Parang. Ganyan mga konyo, hindi tayo yung paparang. Huwag kayong mag-konyo sa akin. Walang iya. Ito But I would still argue the biggest element in the massive success of Bongbong Marcos, my goodness, he's going to be the first majority-based president since modern surveys were introduced. Arguably since his father won in 1969, although that was a very fraudulent, violent elections, next level crazy. And we know what happened after 1969 election, not shortly after, okay. Not long after. Is because of Sara Duterte. Sara Duterte is responsible for, I would say, 60% of the vote base of Marcos in these elections. Yung numbers ni Sara and Marcos, halos parehas. Halos parehas yung numero nilang pareho. And I would say, dun sa solid base na yan, combined base na yan, most of that actually is from Sara. Inday Sara. Wala kang laban doon. Okay. Okay, sige. Of course, may Andrew E. aspect din yan. So everything clicked Everything clicked. The Dutertes were there, paving the way for the Marcoses. There was nothing done with the disinformation, etc., revisionist history throughout the years. Which brings me to the other campaign. Medyo mag-pause tayo ng konti. Pahingi ng dyan, pandesal. Okay Mabait tayo guys Mabait tayo. Okay. Mabait tayo, guys. Slow motion natin to, Itong part na to. Ayan. Okay. 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 Slow motion natin, Okay. Okay. So, number of problems. And it's a long list, but I'm gonna keep it short because I don't want to come out like, Okay, I'm nice. I'm nice. Okay. First of all, was there any concerted pushback against those massive disinformation? Forget about 10 years ago. Just in the past 4 or 5 years. Ang daming libelous, slanderous, kadiring, whatever disinformation na lumabas throughout the years. And then, magsasampa lang kayong kaso sa mga fake news bloggers na yan. Only recently lang? Last year lang? Magpapasa kayo dun sa Senado ng bill, dun sa disinformation and all. Ngayon lang. No, but what was even more surprising to me was why Leni Robredo was so off limits, so hard to reach for media throughout most of their years as a vice president. I just don't get it. This is information warfare. When you are under attack by two formidable camps, what do? You go on the offensive. The international media is much more sympathetic to Leni than the Marcos side. Let's just be honest. Or to Duterte for that matter, and we know why. But how many interviews did she have with the international media? I have friends from top international media who said, I don't know, Leni is a mystery. We don't understand why she didn't want to give interviews all those years. No one is explaining to me what's the logic of that. Let me give you an example. Zelensky. Volodymyr Zelensky. The moment na sinugot siya ng Russia, what did he do? He went on an information offensive. Kalaban mo, my goodness, Russia? Whoa! I'm not talking about the tanks. I'm talking about the disinformation power of Russia. Oh! But the mga US and Europe, ginawa ni Volodymyr Zelensky, he is giving Facebook Live 24/7. He is giving speeches. India, German Parliament, US Congress, British Parliament, right and left and left and right. Next month, I'm going to be in Korea. I'm most likely going to be the next president of Korea. Actually, the newly. Pasok na pala president yun, no? Okay. And then, Zelensky would be one of the speakers. Obviously, I don't expect him to speak in person, probably online. I mean, he's just speaking right and left and left and right and right and left and left and right. He's taking the information warfare back to the Russians. And guess what? He's winning it. He's winning the information warfare. Proactiveness, decisiveness. Yan pong kailangan natin. That's how you save democracy. That's how you fight for democracy. Sir, kalmado lang tayo, sir. Mamaya natin upload. Hi. For me, that was one of the biggest mistakes. So you essentially left the field to your enemy. So they decided the terrain, the timing. I mean, these are just basics in warfare. You never allow your enemy to determine the terrain, the timing, the topography of a battle. You always try to deny them that advantage, but that advantage was given to them right and left. They had it so easy. Yung mabait na gano'n doesn't work, guys. Ang hanap ng Pilipino ay decisive leader. Yung may fuego, may fire, palaban. But subtle. Hindi yung medyo palangkera. Yung medyo may class naman. Pero palaban. Zelensky. The other thing, I'm not sure how much preparation was really made for that presidential run, right? I'm not sure, guys. I'm not really sure. Like, bigla na lang nalaman, tatakbo na pala si Leni. It's like, okay. Parang surprise nga yung iba. Sila Isko surprise, parang nainis sila, ganun. Like, and the way it was handled, right after Leni declared that, immediately, ina-attack na si Isko and all of that. And para sa akin, you think Isko is gonna back out? No, it's gonna be an ugly fight between your two camps. And yes, agree ako with Barry na this is a free country, etc. Ay, hindi ba si Jillian? Sino ba dun sa mga anak ni Ma'am Leni? Someone said na, please refrain dun sa mga medyo elitistang comments, mga ganon. So you can exercise leadership. This is not censorship. This is leadership. You go out and tell your supporters, right? Eye on the ball. Hindi po kalaban si Isko. Ang kalaban po ay kabila. But no. Every time frustrated tao, dun sa race survey, ina-attack si Isko. Malamang sila Isko camp, lumalaban din. Pabalik. Nag-press con pa, lalong sabog, diba? The Isko-hating fest was one of the most pathetic things I've ever seen in any race. When ang kalaban mo dapat, ay focus mo dapat yung kabila, you're picking out number 3 and 4, like, and in the same way, that press con, my goodness, are you kidding me? Kaya tuloy, number 3 pa nga si Pacquiao ngayon, di ba? Now, the volunteers, million strong, 100,000 strong, right? Sir, kalma lang, sir. Kalma lang. Okay, unity tayo. Celebrities. A lot of them endorse Leni. April? Meron pa yung isa, 2 days before elections. Anong impact nun? By that time, nakapag-desisyon ng taong bayan. Tapos nakapag-desisyon na sila. Kaya nga, di ba, in-explain ko, guys, mga kameta, diminishing elasticity, or you can call it variability in voter preference. Nung January po, dun sa 50% ni Bongbong, 60 to 70% could still change their mind. By April, March, 10% na lang siguro yan. So, if you're gonna bank on celebrity power, and if the celebrities indeed have, yes, they have views. Yes, Vice Ganda can get 1 million views. Good for her. We got almost 1 million views too for our meta yesterday, just to be clear. I'm not saying I'm just an ordinary person, but I'm just saying, like, views doesn't mean anything. Like Mocha has, what, 6 million followers? So what? Doc William has, what, 20 million followers? 16 million? I don't know. So what? It doesn't mean anything. You need those celebrities to go and guns blazing and go on the ground, go to people, go door to door for you. Hindi lang yung mag-comment lang sa Twitter, I endorse Leni and then that's it. That doesn't work. Buti pa si Andrew E. Buti pa si Robin Padilla. Hindi sila yung Robin Padilla was there through and through, dikit ng dikit kila Sarah and all of that, going around, carrying the baton. And he got his loyalty award in these elections. Number 1 just the Senate. Highest ever number of votes for any senatorial candidate. Ever. 26 million? More? Tony G. They were there for Bongo Marcos early on pa lang. Although they should have been more transparent about their clear endorsement of Marcos early on. Na hindi sila Tony talks pa and all. Yung ibang celebrities coming out for Leni, they came out March, April. Should have been December. Christmas season, right? Good vibes and all. Or January. New year, new mode, new mood, right? New hope. Grand rallies. Fantastic. Great. Again, March, April. Why not January? Why not October? Why not November? Those volunteers are responsible for the fact that Leni got more votes in 2022 than 2016 as a presidential candidate. That's a big thing, ah. Kasi kung titignan mo si Binay, tignan mo yung number of votes that Binay got in 2010 as vice president compared to the number of votes he got as a president. It went downwards. And that shows you a downward political trajectory. And I'm not surprised that Binay is not going to make it to Senate. Leni actually improved their number. And I would say a big part of that, volunteers. Big part of that is volunteers. Now, I'm not saying this because tapos na yung laban, etc. or tapos na yung elections. I'm saying this because I already told you about this earlier, but ayaw ko maging nega or nanalait na mga camps, etc. Right? I have to be above the fray, right? But now you see where I've been coming from, right? Now, what does it mean? Moving forward, Pink should be more progressive, more aggressive. Play the long game. Long walk to freedom, right? Long walk. New strategy. New team, probably. New thinkers, new approach. New music. Better speakers during ano. So, a lot will depend on what Leni is going to do in the coming weeks and months. Because the pink movement is just a toddler, but even that toddler made huge waves. Not soon enough, but it still showed its power, its potential. And that potential is vast if given the right strategy, the right leadership, and the right momentum. And most importantly, right perspective. Long game. Long game. The Marcoses played the long game since 1991 they returned. You cannot play the long game since October last year. Okay? Alright. Kalmado lang tayo, guys. Okay, so punta na ako kay Andrea. Mag-music na kami dyan. Inday Sara. Alright. Okay? Okay na tayo, guys? Okay, I'll keep it here, Let's have more discussion. I got tired of it, I'll be honest. Medyo napagod ako. Kasi this is a tough conversation. But real talk yun, guys. Real talk is hard. It's hard for me too. You think I'm just having fun here? No, I'm being, mi corazon and all of that. But guys, we're serious here. Kinabukasan ng bansa natin ang pinag-usapan natin. As I always said, whatever camp you voted for, wala akong problema. But at the end of the day, let's make sure if we're gonna have a discussion, it's based on mutual respect, evidence, data, katotohanan, hindi kalokohan, right? Okay? And here, I'm not gonna give you blah, blah, blah. See, noon pa lang, kinwestiyon ko all this Google Trends, blah, 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 all of this nonsense. Some people have to take responsibility. They had bad strategy, and they're trying to compensate for that with what? With spreading nonsense? That's not gonna work. We're the adults. Be adults. Take responsibility, fix the mess, learn your lessons. Move forward. You have 15 million votes behind you. You have a toddler movement that has so much potential and showed so much in the last 6 months, but you need to up your game. You cannot fight 2022 with strategy of 2016 or 1986. You cannot fight 2025 with a strategy of 2022. You have to constantly upgrade. Kahit iPhone ka, kung iPhone 1 ka lang, no match ka sa Xiaomi 5 or Huawei 10. Alright? You have to up your game. Level up. Level up. Level up. Alright? Okay. Maraming salamat, guys. I see it. Maraming nanonood sa atin ngayon, and I know why. Because I know people wanted to hear this. I know people wanted to hear this. Real talk. Real talk. Walang sugarcoating, walang pakyut. Alright? Real talk. And that's exactly what you got from me today. And yesterday, you're gonna get more of that from me. But I'm nice, so we're gonna have some Andre and all in between, okay? So, long walk. Long game. Alright? Please. Perspective. Perspective is so important in life. If you have the right perspectives, you can overcome so many adversities in life. And you have the wrong perspective, a single defeat can completely demolish you. So please lang guys, yung iba dyan, wag depressed mode, etc., etc. Go back to the drawing board, do your assignment, manood kayo ng meta ko, learn from your opponents, from your rivals. Learn and use it for the right reasons, for the right cause. And remember always, politics is a game of addition. Not negation, not canceling right and left people here and there. Okay? It's a game of addition. But of course, it has to be based on conviction. Because if it's just addition without conviction, then trapo times na yan. Alright? So please, take it to your heart, what I'm saying here. Alright? I'm sorry if sometimes mukha akong mayabang or nagyayabang and all. I mean, it's my cheeky side. Alright? Yeah, I mean, a lion has to roar once in a while, right? Sometimes more than once in a while. But a lion is a lion. Lion is there to make the right addition to the tayo, biglang Lion King music tayo. But you get what I'm saying, all right? we need some tough love here. We need some real talk because this is what people need. And you know, hope based on fantasies and cliches is false hope. And false hope is not good. False hope doesn't bring you a sustainable success. It may bring you success here and there, but it has no future. But a movement based on conviction, based on the proper perspective, based on understanding of the lay of the land, based on understanding of all struggles throughout history for the right cause, it has a future. Imagine if the Mandelas of this world gave up with one defeat or one setback. Lahat tayo, most of us siguro mga peasants at feudal slaves lang tayo. Probably would have been all stuck in medieval times or dark ages. But no, many people did not give up. They kept on fighting the good fight and they kept the faith. Next thing you know, a whole new political order came about. But freedom is fragile. Democracy is fragile. It has to be upheld. You have to sacrifice for it. Okay? So I hope, folks, you have that sense of perspective and you don't miss it. Okay? May tanong ba tayo dyan? Thank you very much again for being there. Okay, maraming salamat. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Tapos, whoo! Tapos yung mga tao nagpapalakpakan. Wow, wow. Thank you, thank you. Talagang mga politikong gano'n. Tapos, parang tanong. Thank you very much. Thank you. And yung mga sarap ng mga crowds, El Presidente, Ricardo. Tapos nagwawala na sila dun sa Guadalajara Plaza, nagsispeech siya, tapos si El Presidente. Ayan, mga Obama swagger. Ayan, Obama swagger. Ayan tayo. I like this quote from Nelson Mandela. Remember one thing we said, a good head and a good heart are always a formidable combination. Hindi pwede purong puso lang. Nako, hindi ito Korea versus Pilipinas na gilas. Parang nangyari this Korea versus China, Australia, Iran. Diba? Medyo hindi balance yung fight. Kailangan mo ng strategy. Hindi pwede puso-puso lang. Alright? A good head and a good heart are always a formidable combination. But when you add to that a literate tongue or pen, then you have something very special. Okay. That sounded like I'm... Okay, never mind. You get what I'm saying. Alright? Thank you very much. Do not forget, it's a long walk, it's a long game, and if you have the right perspective, you'll remember this is a 15 million strong movement. No one should take it for granted. Okay? Maraming salamat. Thank you very much. God bless. God bless the Philippines. And whoever you voted for, you are my brother, you are my sister. We're gonna have discussions, we're gonna have disagreements. Walang problema po yan. But please, let's keep it mutually respectful. And let's base it on data. You have a counter data, please forward it to me. No problem. We will discuss it. Alright? So I'm not just doing it like vloggers, pampakit lang. We're having a serious discussion, serious based on data and all. Alright? Maraming salamat. Thank you very much. Woo! Tapos nagpalakpakan. Thank you. Yan. Alright, okay. Okay na, tama na. Alright. God bless. Thank you very much.